Welcome to Formula for Wealth, and my guest today is Paul Smolinski. Paul is the owner, or co-owner, I should say, of Introbiz, which is a global networking business, and he's a property investor. So we've got both investing in business and property to discuss with Paul today. So welcome, Paul.
Thank you, Karen, and thank you for having me on your latest podcast. It's an honour. Thank you.
It's great to have you here. So tell me about Introbiz.
Well, Introbiz, first was founded from my wife, Tracey, back 11 years ago, and she used to work for the Western Echo, and one day, one of her bosses said to her, "You need to go out networking," and she didn't understand what networking was about, and she was representing the Media Wales brand, and she did it for about 3 months, and she didn't get an ounce worth of business at all, and she couldn't work out why. And what she was trying to do, going to these networking events, was trying to sell her products, and then she spoke to one of her clients there, who she met, and said, "Listen, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? Everyone's doing well, and I'm not." And they said to her, "Tracey, what you're doing is you're doing it all the wrong way. You're trying to sell your products. Networking is not about selling your products or your services. It's about building relationships and building trust and building values and about helping people and supporting people." And then she changed her tact, and then 6 months later, she changed her tack on meeting people and talking to people, and she generated over £100,000 worth of business for Media Wales. And she thought, "Wow, how incredible and how powerful is this networking business?" And that's what inspired her to set up her own company. And she left the Western Echo and set up Introbiz. And she first started, going to networking events and building up her network. And when she actually left them, she, I think, gained about 20, 30 new members. And that was when Introbiz was born. And she sort of, started to grow it. It was more of a lifestyle business for her because she had 2 children. They were both in school. She could work around her way of doing events once a month. And she wanted to, build her network. And then 2 years later into the network, she was still growing it. And I met her at a networking event, at a polo event. And she said to me, and I got introduced to her, and she said to me, "I know you from somewhere." I said, "Do you?" She said, "Yeah, I know your face from somewhere." She didn't know me at all. But it was such a small world because what had happened was I used to be the manager of Moss Bros in Cardiff, and one of my friends said to me, "There's this business network that wants to do a charity event, and they want a menswear brand to support them." I said, "Oh yeah, no problems at all. Yeah, we'll support them whatsoever." Anyway, 2 weeks later, I go to this networking event, and obviously this Tracey said to me, I run a company called Introbiz. I said, "What, you must be the girl that I'm helping you with your fashion show." She said, "Yes, I am that girl." I thought, well, the odds on meeting someone like that was like 1,000,000 to 1. And I said to her, so what does Introbiz do? And she said, "Oh, well, we're a networking organisation and we help people and blah, blah, blah." And I never understood what she meant. And for about a year, she kept saying to me, "You need to come in this business and all that." And I said, "Oh, no," I said, "I don't get this networking laugh. I don't understand what it is, and I don't understand, whatsoever." And then one Saturday, she said to me, "There's these 3 top keynote speakers who are speaking in London, and she nagged me to say, can we go, and will you have a Saturday off from your retail job and support me?" And I was like, "Oh no, I don't want to see any speakers. I'm not interested." Anyway, and I said, "Yes," I said, "I'll come and support you anyway." And it was one of her members. And one of her members was Rob Warlow from Business Loan Services.
Yeah.
And he used to work for Barclays Bank. And I knew Rob from the network. And I thought, well, I'll support her in the network. And when I went to London, there was these three speakers on stage, and one of them was Kevin Green, who was one of the UK's biggest landlords in property, and he was on Secret Millionaire, and he's a well-to-do guy, and he's from Wales, and I thought, wow, he's inspiring. And I met another guy called Andy Harrington, who was like a motivational speaker, and then the third speaker was a woman called Sharon Lecter, and I'd never heard of Sharon Lecter in all my life. And she was on stage, and I was one of those guys sat in the audience thinking, God, who's this woman? She's a co-author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Never even heard of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. One of the biggest selling books of all time. And she's all about leverage and connections and building assets and property and all that. And she mentored, she was on financial literacy for the US government with George Bush and President Obama. And I think, God, what a inspirational woman. But you know what? I sort of resonated with her, what she was saying. And I'm stuck in the audience about, helping people and who you're connected to. And it was all the things that, Tracey had been saying to me, you should come into this network. And I thought, hang on a minute. All the people I know that I've served in retail with Hugo Boss and in the suit industry and the fashion industry, I know hundreds of people. And I thought, what about if I brought them into Introbiz? So anyway, he gets out of the conference. We had a photo with Sharon, drove back to Wales in the car with about 4 people, and I didn't shut up the whole day long. It was a bit like the light bulb moments where you go somewhere unplanned, didn't really want to go at all, and you see something, and a light bulb went bang. There's an opportunity there that you should do. And I said to Trace, okay, if I come to the business, we change what you're doing now from once a month events to twice a month or 3 times a month or 4 times a month. Then we looked at an action plan, and then I came into the business. We said, we'll give it 1 year. We'll see what it's like. And if I don't like it, if I don't enjoy it, I'll go back into retail. And at the time, I had an offer to go work in Dubai in a big, huge Armani store. It was great money and all that. And I just met Trace, and I'd just been, building a relationship with her. And I said, no, I'm going to give you 110%. I thought, I always want to be an entrepreneur. I want to always work for myself. And my family had always been entrepreneurs. And they always said to me, you should never work for other people, always work for yourself. And I'm going, yeah. But I haven't got 100 grand to go to my own fashion shop, And I said to Trace, let's give it a year and see how we get on. And it was one of those decisions in your life that it was like a gut instinct to say, take a risk, what you got to lose, and see what happens. And since that moment we took that risk, 11 years later we've never looked back. And then what happened really, what was pretty instrumental, is that I was still learning the business about networking. I still didn't understand it, and I didn't really get it until like about 5 or 6 months later, when I really understood the business more. Is that within the first month in Introbiz, Trace had been offered to exhibit at the South Wales Chamber and in Cardiff City. And I said, so what happened to this then? She said, well, I bought a stand. It's about £1,000. We're going to exhibit Introbiz. We're going to potentially meet new clients. And there's about 80 companies there. There should be a few thousand people. This should be good. I went, okay. So I went along, and we exhibited there, and we got a stand there, and we didn't meet many people there. And I went, so what happened? She said, well, just exhibitors, just meet one another. There was no one there at all. There was no more than like 30 or 40 people max. And I said, that's a lot of money you paid for that. So after that exhibition, it was less than 3 months I was in the business. I made a bold statement. I turned to Trace in the car at Cardiff City Stadium, and I said, right, we're going to do an expo in 3 months' time in this location, in this stadium, I'm going to do a better job than this. And she said, how are we going to do that? I said, I don't know, but I know I can do a better job than this. And I had no experience whatsoever doing exhibitions. I've never done it in my life. And the idea I had was to get Kevin Green as our first keynote speaker, which he agreed to do, because obviously he was Welsh, and I said, you know, you'd be great. And we had like 50 exhibitors within 3 months. We had about 400 people attend, and they said it was brilliant, and it was really interactive, and it was really positive, and everyone was like loving it. And that was the birth of the expo to Introbiz, and that was really the start of Introbiz, of being, you know, a brand that was going to be recognizable. And that was the moment. I think it was a bit of, you know, it would never have happened. I'd still be in the fashion industry now if I hadn't gone to London that Saturday and I hadn't seen two people that inspired me. One was Kevin Green, and two was Sharon Lecter.
Because Sharon Lecter went on to be your business coach, didn't she?
So on the back of Sharon Lecter, 2 years later, we had an email from Sharon's people. Basically, those who went to that conference and saw Sharon was looking to mentor some entrepreneurs around the world. And we had this email, and, you know, we read up about Sharon, and people just said, oh, you know, she's really highly respected and all that. And at the time, I'd read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad about the book, and that book was a life-changing moment for me, but also I'll say later on in the interview that how it's changed so many people's lives about building assets. And at the time when I read the book, and I resonated with the book, and I always remember Sharon on stage, and me and Trace looked at Sharon thinking, God, you know, what an iconic, you know, woman she is, and respectful, and, you know, worked with some greats. And also the other person as well was Kevin Green. You know, Kevin Green had been mentored by Richard Branson, and I thought, God, wow, you know, there's Sharon with, you know, the presidents of the United States. There's Kevin Green with Richard Branson. And at the time, I really wasn't into those names or entrepreneurs at all, but they were like, God, I'd love to be like those guys, you know, with presidents and Richard Branson and all that. I thought, oh, I'd love to be, you know, one day have that dream of meeting those people and being like that. And then an opportunity came where, would you like Sharon Lecter to be your mentor? And we sat down, looked at it, and we said, oh, you know, we can't afford that. It's just way up our budget. It's just way out of our extremes of, you know, financial wise. And also it was a case of we were still building the business, we were still growing, and we thought, you know, imagine if we had Sharon as our mentor, how great would we learn from her? How great would that be good to, you know, her contacts that she could help us with, and all the top tips that she could teach us in business to be a global brand. And I always remember saying to Trace, and Trace will tell you this, is that I said, if I'm going to come into Introbiz, I have to turn Introbiz into a brand like Hugo Boss. She said, how are you going to do that? Because I've always worked with luxury brands, and we're going to turn the brand into a luxury global brand like Hugo Boss. And I always remember saying that to her, and beginning thinking, God, how am I going to do that? And I realized it's surround yourself with the right people and the right brands. And I always went for luxury brands to try and get into the network, because most networks never dealt with luxury brands, never dealt with big, you know, Hugo Boss or Maserati or Rolex or Cartier or Mercedes, or, you know, it was always like one-man bands most networks dealt with. So that was always the vision. And then we took the plunge and said, right, okay, we scraped enough money. We looked at the business and said, right, okay, we're going to go all in, and we're going to invest in Sharon Lecter to be our business mentor. And when we told people looked at us like, Are you crazy? Are you mad? Why spend all that money? You can buy a brand new, Mercedes for that money and all that stuff. And I said, listen, we're going to invest in ourselves. We're going to learn from the best. And you know what? Even though it's like 5 or 6 years ago, it was the best investment we ever did, because the amount of doors, the amount of opportunities, and the amount of things that we learned from Sharon was priceless to what we paid. And to the extent of, we meet people now who are global entrepreneurs, who are very dear friends of Sharon's, and they have the ultimate respect for Sharon in the business community in the world. And Sharon mentored us. Even now, we talk to Sharon, and we were privileged to go stay at her house in Arizona and a ranch in Scottsdale. And we had that bond, that relationship. And when we stayed with her for a week, she treated us like her children. We called her like Mama. We called Michael, her husband, Papa. And in all her people she's mentored, and she's mentored many people around the world, very few people have that bond. And because I lost my mum when my mum was like 49 years old, she died from breast cancer. And I've always looked up at Sharon as like a mother figure to me, even to the extent of when Sharon used to come and speak at our shows and our events, and we used to do events together in London. And I talk on stage, to like 400 or 500 people. I could never look at Sharon in the audience, because I'd always have tears down my eyes, because she always remind me of my mum as like a mother figure to us. And it was always emotional. I said, listen, I'm not looking over there, because if I do, I'm going to start. So we always have that special bond. And she's such a dear lady. Even though this month she came onto our podcast with Tracey, and she was on our podcast the other week, and we're looking to do more events now with her. But we learned so much from her, and the biggest lesson that we learned is to invest in yourself, but also learn from greatness and surround yourself with greatness.
One of the things I found, because I've had a lot of business coaches who have been top in their field at the time, even when I was playing tennis as a kid, I had the top coach then, and you sort of find the person that you resonate the best with. And when you've got that person, things just all come together and work really well for you. And I've known you and Tracey. I think Tracey had just started the business about a year after I'd met her. So I've known you for quite a number of years. And the stuff I've seen since you were with Sharon has just been incredible with the business. And the growth of the expo, your golfing event, your wine event, all those sorts of things, and the way it's gone around the world has just been really quite incredible.
And I think she taught us the difference is that we used to be mentored at 10 o'clock in the night to 11 o'clock once a month. It'd sometimes be 11 o'clock till midnight, and you'd have a full day's work, and you'd be tired, thinking, don't really want to do this. But she'd always lighten up, and she'd always talk about your wins and your goals, and she'd always talk about the positives and all the things that you were achieving. And even now, she says, I'm so proud of you. And, the highlight for us was to come over to the show and speak at the show on stage. And she said, wow, you've done this. And even when we did events at the Ritz in London, we did events there. We did some, exclusive events. And Sharon appeared. And every time we've asked Sharon to come over and do something, she's never said no. Because I think you have that bond with people that you just resonate with them, and also you have that emotion with them and the trust factor there, and it doesn't matter what time of the day it is, we can ring it any time we want. And we've got some more events planned next year in Vegas with her. But it's a trust factor, and when I remember the time when we were in a kitchen, and we're like, me and Tracey in the kitchen, and we're food, and we're doing put the dishes away, and we're thinking, hang on a minute, you know, in the bedroom, there's like there's a photo of like George Bush, and the photo of where she is in the cabinet there. There's another photo of like President Obama there with like Sharon there, and all these governors there. And I'm thinking, and there's us like on Cardiff, in Cardiff, like in Sharon's house, you know. And when we drove down to a place down in Cherry Creek Lodge, which is about 2.5 miles away. She said, "Oh, that's my weekend place that I go to chill out." I went, "Oh, nice." And we drove through this forest, and half hour later through this forest, there's this like big, massive sort of lot, like a lodge, 21 bedrooms. When we sat there and looked outside, it was 50,000 acres. And she said, "We own all this."
Yeah.
And it was just like these proper cowboy land. And we sat in her front room and with a fire on, and we sat there, me and Trace, you know, talking about stories and talking about, you know, all the things, people she knew, and talking about all the greats and all that. And it's like talking to your mum. Like, you could just resonate, and she's there for us, and she's guiding us, and she's supporting us. She said, "I'm there for you wherever you want. Just ring me. I'm here for you." And I think that's a relationship. And when you talk about her to other people, you know, I'm like talking about the legends of like Brian Tracey and Les Brown, and we did events with these guys, and the utmost respect everyone has for Sharon is phenomenal. And they all talk about, you know, it's a great honour for us. You know, we had you know, the legendary Grant Cardone at our expo 2 years ago, and met Grant a few times. Lovely guy. And I remember 10X this year. Grant named the 5 top people that changed his life, and there was only one female on that panel at 10X, and that person was Sharon Nectar. So it just goes to show that the people that you surround yourself with greatness, there's other people who have the same feelings, the same beliefs, the same attitude, the same things that you learn from. And the amount of people that I've met in the last 10 years, if I had a pound for everyone said the same thing that I said, if I hadn't read that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I would never be where I am today. I'd be a multi-millionaire, because everyone said, "That changed my life reading that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad."
It was a big changer for me as well. Yeah, it was because I lived in New Zealand at the time, and Robert Kiyosaki was over in New Zealand doing a talk. I'd read the first 2 books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad and Cash Flow Quadrant, and he was there doing Rich Dad's Guide to Investing. So I got an opportunity to talk to him after the event and spend a little bit of time with him, and it just totally changed everything for me. So yeah, I can understand that. It is a massive, the book is just, it impacts so many people. It's just incredible. But back to Introbiz, because I've got a few notes here that I've been making. Now, the connections. I know you've started doing, I say start, you've had them running a little while, is your golf. And the reason I talk about the golf is when I had my business in New Zealand, we had a salesman. All he ever did was go and play golf. And the sales that came in were absolutely incredible. And then when you have a new salesman, they say, "Oh, I'm going to beat that." And they couldn't get anywhere near him because they didn't have that golfing connection. So
Sure.
Introbiz going down the golfing route is, for those connections, it just seems to me something that should have been done a long time ago.
Yeah,
By lots of networking companies.
It is a true saying. You know, a lot of business is done on the golf course. And I remember back in, how long ago was it now? It might have been about 5 or 6 years ago. we had a company who exhibited with us from Southampton that owns a golfing resort in Desert Springs in Spain. And I had a good connection there. I knew the owner there. And the venue, the resort, they had two ambassadors. One of them was Ian Botham, and the other one was Daley Thompson, the Olympian. And it basically is a golf course with all villas on it. And I remember chatting to the guys, and they joined the network, and they said, "Oh, you need to come out one day." I said, "Listen, brilliant, we're going to do that." So we took a party of about 40 odd people with my friend Sean Ferguson and Aaron from Forbiz, and they took their clients, we took ours, and we had an unbelievable deal. We go and played on this golf course where Real Madrid and Barcelona players played on it. Stunning course, and we stayed in these villas with pools up to the golf course, and it was amazing. The weather was fantastic. We had a brilliant weekend away there, and I had an unbelievable deal for my clients that I got. I think it might have been about £200, right, that I got for the weekends, and we just got flights about 50 quid. But it was brilliant. And from doing the golf events from there, the golf events have been brilliant because the amount of business is done on the golf course has been incredible. And we've done like our golf events now for the last 6 years. And we took the Bell Resorts, and we got a new venue now. Saint Pierre now is in the network. And, we take people away for, golfing experiences. But the connections you make on a golf course are invaluable. You have time with people. You get to learn about their business. It's in a relaxed environment. It's more of a chill out, more than like, say, a formal networking event you're doing. But also, nothing greater than if you love playing golf and you want to meet new businesses, the golf course is the best place. And it's true. There's some people out there that do tens of thousands of pounds worth of business on a golf course. And I would recommend it highly. And our Introbiz events on golf have generated, tens of thousands. I remember Lloyd's Bank coming, I think last year. They came once and they secured a £100,000 deal just from a client they met at that golf event.
Mm. Yeah, it's quite incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. And then I know one of the highlights for Tracey anyway, I assume for you as well, was Richard Branson last year.
It was always, the thing for us is, it's always the next level for us. And I think that there's three elements to our business and our goals. Our goals were, to get the Dragon's Den at the Expos, which we always did, and we got them. We got Hillary back in 2013. Was a big another. No Dragon's Den had been to Wales before. Then we went to the Apprentice winners, and then the big goal for us then was to secure Lord Sugar and Grant Cardone. And I remember that event like yesterday. It was like nearly 2 years ago, and someone said to me, "You will never ever top this event. You will never. What you did there was incredible." And and people say to me, "So what's next for Introbiz?" Well, what's next for Introbiz is Richard Branson. And people say, they look at you thinking, "Really?" I say, "Listen, no doubt about it. We're going to meet and do business with Richard Branson." Because I always believe that if you visualize something and people who are close to people, you'll make it happen. And that's always been our strategy. And, it came about, I'll tell you the true story. It came about, we spoke in Ireland back a year and a half ago. And we just said, listen, if anyone has a dream, follow your dreams and all that. One of our dreams is to meet Richard Branson. Anyone in the audience knows Richard Branson. And someone in the audience said, Brian Chittick said, one of my friends who just come back from Necker Island with Richard Branson. They were all brilliant. Hannah Hawkshaw. So Hannah got connected to us on email and followed up. I said, oh, I hear you just come back from Necker. I said, yeah, I had a week there. It was brilliant, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I said, I'd love to speak at one of your events. So we had Hannah as one of our keynote speakers at the Dragons Expo last September. And she said, well, listen, because you're helping me in the UK, let me help you. I went, fine. She said, let me introduce you to Richard Branson's tennis coach. I went, oh, we'd love to meet James Kluski. It'd be an honor to meet James. And James got introduced to James, and I said to James, you know, what's it like, playing tennis with Richard Branson and being his tennis coach? He said, oh, you know, he's a cool guy and blah, blah, blah. And I said, listen, well, let me see if I can help you in the UK. And he said, oh, I want to raise my profile. I'm a business coach as well. And I said, listen, come and speak at the Dragons Expo in September. He said, oh, I'd love to, Paul. I'd love to, you know, speak in the UK. He said, well, how can I help you? I said, well, we want to try and meet Richard. How can we get that? He said, well, listen, let me introduce you to someone who's his right-hand man. And I said, oh, will you do that for me? He said, oh, I'd love to. So he introduced me to Trevor. And he got introduced to Trevor, and we started chatting. And I said, oh, by the way, we work with lots of global entrepreneurs. And I don't think to this day now, if we never invested in Lord Sugar or Grant Cardone, we would have the opportunity to meet Richard Branson. Because Trevor knew that we dealt with billionaires, and we've had billionaires speak at our show. And I said, one of our dreams was have Richard talk at our expos. And I think that was a credibility factor, that having those two spoke at our show. Okay, good. Well, I see you deal with, like, you know, global superstars like Grant, and obviously Grant's American. These guys are American as well, in America. And they said, right, okay, so we had a few meetings. He said, well, listen, let me invite you to our Wimbledon event in June, where we have a few tennis pros there. A lot of people from Necker Island go there. A lot of them are Sir Richard's good friends there. It'd be good to meet you. Anyway, so we went to the event, took a few people with us, about 130 people there, started chatting to these guys. And I said, listen, my vision has always been this. Do you want to be part of our vision and our goals and all that? And they said, Paul, we'd love to partner with you as a partner. And they said, would you like to come to Necker Island and meet Richard Branson this year? I said, love to come. They said, yeah, the only problem you got, if you want to come, it's not cheap to go there. And I went, right, okay. So the question was, right, how much is to go? And I went, oof, how much? And I thought, right, okay, you get one chance in life. You either take it or find a way how to do it, or you miss your opportunity and it never gets happened. You never get the opportunity again. And we've always had the belief that if you get given an opportunity, take it, worry about it later. So we decided that we're going to take some of our clients there in our network. And he said, Paul, you're going to be the only company that we're going to partner with in the UK to take your clients to meet Richard Branson on Necker Island. And I said, oh, thank you guys, a real privilege, real honor to be partners with you. We built up the trust. They had the same vision as us, and they wanted to get into the UK market and meet our clients. As it went closer and closer to the dates, we were going on December, I think the 4th to the 10th, and it was getting closer and closer. And I think we sold about 8 tickets for our members to come. And I remember getting on the flight, going to Antigua, saying, we're actually going to meet our hero, our goal. Our goal was to meet him, go to his house and go to Necker Island. There's always been a dream. And I remember that time where we got on the plane going to Antigua. I remember jumping off there and jumping on the boats, and we stayed at Scrub Island, which is about 20 minutes from Necker Island. Beautiful place in the British Virgin Islands. And I said to Tracey, listen, we're only 24 hours away from meeting one of our heroes. And I remember jumping on this boat and said, right, are you ready? I went, let's do it. So we jumped on this boat, and I said, you will know when you get to Necker Island that it's like a big Christmas tree all lit up in the sea, in the dark. And as we were on this boat, going, you could see these lights in the distance, thinking, God, this is it. We arrived at the beach. We looked up, we saw the great house where Richard Branson lived. All the lights were there. There was all these beach golf buggies saying, right, okay, jump in. We jumped into the buggy and we were going to his house. And what had happened is that the first night of Necker Island, the Necker Cup, was for the VIPs. So there was about 200 people who were going to Necker Island, but there was only 100 people that had been invited to the VIP opening, and obviously we were one of them. My clients were. I got tickets for the VIP, and I remember walking into the house, all lit up, and then these two girls with champagne there, and then you walking in there, and I've seen the photos on Google what his house looks like, and it's exactly the same. And there was about 80, 100 people there, and all of a sudden in the distance, we could see the great man himself. And I said, there he is over there. And he had no shoes on. I'm thinking, right, okay, he's pretty cool. and do you know what? Within 5 minutes, down to our experience and networking skills, we've been introduced to him. We had a selfie with him. We presented him with a beautiful painting from Chris Langley that painted for him a picture of him. He was so gracious and honoured to have it. And he was just a humble guy and quite a shy guy. When you meet someone, like when you meet people like Lord Sugar or Grant Cardone, you sort of adjust your personality and how to meet them, how to talk to them, and all those sort of things. And when we got introduced to him, he spoke very quiet and he was very humble. And we thought, wow, we had our photo with him, and we started chatting. He said, "Oh, our friends painted this for you," and he was gracious. And he said, "Thank you so much." And we just and our clients who came with us, our members, we introduced them to all our members as well, and they went, wow, within 10 minutes we're meeting Richard Branson, had the selfie, the photographs. And I remember the moments where I've got to do this now. You don't get often do it. You get chances like this. So I decided to do a Facebook Live from Necker Island. So everyone sat down having dinner, and I thought, right, I'm going to do this. So I did a Facebook Live. I said, "Hi guys, Paul here from Introbiz. Delighted to announce I'm here. We're here, Richard Branson's house on Necker Island, filming live." And the amount of people that came on there, and it was a life-changing moment for us, because it was something that you've always dreamed of. You've always something that you wanted to visualize in your head, how it'd turn out to be, and what would you be like, and what that person would be like, meeting your heroes and standing in his house there. And the people that followed us on Facebook, I think, couldn't believe their eyes, saying, "What is Paul Smolinski doing in Richard Branson's house? What is he doing there? Why is he there?" And obviously Trace as well there. And when we came back from Necker, the amount of people that stopped us in the streets, were just saying, listen, it was incredible to see someone from Cardiff, hanging around with Richard Branson for the whole week. And, how did you do it? How did you get that opportunity? And how did that happen? And, even today people ask me that question. And it was a life-changing moment. And it has changed our life, because since meeting him, we've got other events planned for him. We're going back there again this year. We're doing this cruise ship, which got postponed to COVID to next year. And we've got future plans with Richard Branson with Introbiz. And I think, it's always been a goal and dream to surround yourself with great people. But I think you just got to have the same the same mindset and the same things that they love helping people. They're down to earth people, just like me and you. They're no different to anyone else. They're very humbling, and the amount of times that we spent a week with him on Necker, and he chatted to us, and he was like, down to earth and brilliant host, and everyone was so welcoming him, and he welcomed everyone to his place, and he talked to everyone. Just a great guy, and we just thought, what, it's an honor to be in that presence, and it was a life changing moment. And even now, people say, I still remember that Facebook Live that you did, and the other one I did as well is when he was playing tennis. He just finished, and I was doing a Facebook Live saying, "Oh, Richard's playing over there, and he's playing well, and he's playing with Martin Navratilova. He just finished playing tennis." And he walked through the crowds, and he walked towards me, and Tracey spotted him saying, "Paul's doing Facebook Live here," and there's Richard walking over to him. And I got hold of him. I said, "Oh, Richard, we're live in the UK. Have you got a message to all your fans back in the UK? And did you win today?" And he went, "Oh, hi, everyone. Hi, I'm in the UK. And yeah, I did win and all that." And he was just like, you couldn't predict. You couldn't visualize. And but such a humble guy, and he gives his time up for everyone, and those who came with us, those who came with us on the trip, we made sure that they had exactly the same experience, even more, because we wanted them to go back home and say, "Wow, this event exceeded all their expectations." And you know what? They all said they were blown away from the experience, and it was life changing for them as well. And it was good to see other people reminisce and say, "Oh, I can't thank enough Paul for taking us there, because it would never have happened. It would never have happened if we hadn't stood on stage asking for something that can anyone help us." That led to one person, another person. And then the opportunity came, and it's true. You're only 2 or 3 connections away from the ideal connection that you're looking for, which is the power of networking.
It shows you the power of networking, doesn't it? And what you can achieve if you just work your way through the right people.
100%.
Yeah. I'm getting a bit conscious of time now, so we've got a couple of things to cover. Franchising. You've now franchised the business. So you've gone overseas? Yes.
We've gone overseas to Sweden. We launched Sweden back in January this year. And Claire and Richard Rees, they are ex-Welsh Pats who were previous Introbiz members back in Wales. They moved to Sweden 10 years ago. They have a fantastic dog sledging outdoor business. But they wanted something a bit more that was going to make their business grow a bit further, and they saw the huge opportunity of having the whole of Sweden as a franchise, and they're doing extremely well. And they live in Åre, which is like the top part of Sweden, and they're launching Sweden in Stockholm as well this year, and they're doing expos, and they're doing really well and loving it. And what's interesting about Sweden, the amount of people in Sweden that want to be connected to the UK is incredible. And we saw the huge opportunity in Sweden because there's not that many expos or networking events to choose from. And these guys saw the market and the gap, and they've done extremely well growing the network in Sweden now, Claire and Richard.
Fantastic. Property. I know you took on a property project last year.
Sure.
Investing in property for the first time?
It was another life-changing experience. Our favourite homes are always homes under the hammer, and homes abroad, and there's all the holiday programs we love watching, right? We've always been into property. Since reading the Rich Dad books as well, it's all about building assets. And obviously, we used to do the events with Kevin Green. I think he owns about 1,000 properties. And all these years, we've seen people earn tens of thousands and millions in property investing. And we were saying, oh, we're too busy, we should do it. Yeah. And I'm always telling people, go get coached by Kevin Green and get coached by Sharon and get into property and read the book and all that. And we've always been preaching it. And every time it was like our day off, we watched Homes of the Hammer or watch other properties programs, love it. Oh, look at the money you can make. I think it all. So anyway, it was one day. We had our family house in Lisvane, lovely house, grew up there, been there for like 7-8 years. And we realized, how much money that house we'd made in 7 years. And I remember a lot of our friends in the network who were in property said, how well they're doing and they've invested in and they made lots of money. And I think, wow, brilliant, really fantastic. Anyway, one of our friends said, there's this property down in Saundersfoot. It's been on the market for a year and no one wants to buy it. If you don't buy it, I'm going to buy it. And we went, right, okay. So we had a look at it. In fact, there was two properties on the one strip. There was 500 yards from the beach. One was a big project. It was like changing like grand designs. I think, that's too big for us our first time. And this other one was a house which was 2 3-bedroom apartments, and it was like 1970s. It was dark and dreary and smelly and all that. And it was like, Jesus, lived in there for years. This old man had died in there years ago and done nothing about it. The walls are crumbling. It was like hanging. It was like falling down, and they couldn't sell it. Anyway, it was a family dispute. Anyway, there was four people it was 4 brothers and sisters who wanted to sell it, but didn't want to sell it, so it was a dispute in the family. Anyway, they had an offer on it, but the person who put an offer on it couldn't show his financial status. So we decided, tell you what, why don't we sell our house, our main family house, and buy this house? And we worked out that we made about 100 grand on the house in 7 years in Lisvane. It was in a beautiful location. And we looked at this house and we thought, okay, we could buy this house for that figure, spend that money, what we think, and then how much would that house be worth in a year's time? We thought, is it worth the risk? A few of our friends said, you're crazy, you're mad. Why are you doing this? And we thought, well, you know what? We got an instinct. This is going to be great. And two things we always learn from Kevin Green. One, the more stinky, smelly, and derelict it looks, the better it is. And two, if you're near a beach or a hotspot location, it's a great opportunity. And our friend said, this is a good opportunity. And if you don't buy it, I'm going to buy it. And we went, we're so thankful that you give us opportunity. So we committed to it. So we sold our house. We bought this house. And then we just learned all the experiences on building and builders and my time and focusing on the property, then running the business and back and forth. And it was like an hour and a half away. And it took us 4 months to find the right builders, because you're always cautious about spending a lot of money with on a property. Is it the right person? But also, one of the biggest things we learned about property is that we had a brilliant architect called Richard Andrews from our architects. He guided us all through. He's a good friend of ours, one of our members for many years. And he took us through the process. And he had a vision on how it looked. And we went down there a lot, and we had a vision as well. And he said, listen, I like it. I think this will do well. And we took the plunge. It took us about 10 months to actually, probably 11 months to finish it. It overrun by about 6 months. It should have been done before, but the builders didn't finish it, and got all completed by February this year. it was all booked. It was booked out in February, in March, April, and May, and COVID kicked in, so we lost all the revenue on that. And potentially we had our first booking in, I think just before COVID happened. It was just a week. One of our members booked it for the weekend. But I'll give an example. What we spent on it and what we made on it, we doubled our money we made in 7 years in Lisbon than we did in 9 months. And that was the gamble we took, which paid off. And we wish we did it 7 years earlier.
More property planning now?
So we love the idea of properties. We love, the getting in there and making things happen and having the good people around you, having the right builders around you, having the right architects, have all the right people around you. But the opportunities is massive. And, we love the property industry. Tracey's a big fan of it. I'm a big fan of it. And when you see something that looks like you wouldn't give tuppence for it, and you change it to like changing rooms and thinking, wow, it is a transformation. It's a feel-good factor. And, we've luckily now, touch wood, we've had bookings for July and August and September. We're thinking, wow, and potentially it could bring us in about £70,000 a year from a rental, which is like, wow, incredible. And we just thought, you know what, got to do this more because, and one thing I learned about all the global entrepreneurs, even the billionaires, how they're so rich. It's not from business. They've built their wealth on property. They've all got property assets. And that's one thing I've learned from all of them. Their fortune is from the property side. Their business is successful, but that's where the money they've made from. Grant Cardone, Richard Branson, Lord Sugar, massive property investors.
And that's what we cover here is you build the business, which gives you the cash to go and do the investments. And that's exactly what you've been doing. You've built the business and now you're moving it into property and you're building the property. 100%.
And I recommend anyone who's thinking about it, just do it because, opportunities don't come about that often. But once you've done your first one and you see the potential, it is life-changing. You'll never go back because you want to do it more and more and more again.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to get in contact with you to rent your property in the summer for the holidays or to join Introbiz or find out more about Introbiz, what's the best way to get hold of you?
So the best way is contact on email is info@introbiz.co.uk. Look at our website, it's www.introbiz.co.uk. You can contact me on Facebook, I'm Paul Smolinski, on LinkedIn, Paul Smolinski, and on Twitter and Instagram @Paul Introbiz. Or just message me, and anyone wants any help or support or any advice. We're here to help and share and put people in the right direction of who you want to be connected to.
Fantastic. One quick bit of advice to anybody listening?
If I was going to give one bit of advice from a networking point of view is never judge a book by its cover on who you meet. You never know who they know.
Fantastic. Thank you, Paul. And really appreciate you giving up some time to do this interview today. So thank you very much for that.
It's a pleasure. And thank you for having me on today.
Thank you.